You see, in my years of walking this earth, watching people rise, fall, and repeat the same patterns under different names, I've learned something simple but brutal. Intelligence isn't just about how much you know. It's about how you live, how you treat others, how you handle failure, and how honestly you learn from your mistakes. That's wisdom. That's emotional intelligence in real life. And it's rare. But here's the twist. There are certain unmistakable signs, 6 of them to be exact, that reveal when someone is, well, let's just say, lacking in wisdom. Not because they're born that way, not because they're hopeless, but because they've learned the wrong habits, the wrong mindset, and they keep protecting them like treasure. Now, before you roll your eyes or chuckle at the thought of a list like this, let me tell you why it matters. Spotting these signs isn't about judging others. Stoic philosophy doesn't teach us to sit on a throne and point fingers. It teaches reflection, growth, and yes, avoiding these pitfalls in our own lives. Because the fastest way to become wiser is to notice what keeps people foolish. And maybe, just maybe, to help those who don't realize they're stuck in their own cycle. So join me on this journey. Discovery together. We're going to uncover the 6 undeniable signs of a foolish person, each one carrying a lesson, a story, and a mirror for us to look into. Because the path to wisdom always begins with awareness. Ready? Let's walk. The first sign, a closed mind. A closed mind is the fortress of ignorance, built brick by brick with fear, pride, and stubbornness. People like this don't just reject new ideas, they block their own path to personal growth. They live inside a rigid box where everything must operate according to their familiar rules, and anything different feels like a threat. Their confidence often looks strong on the outside, but it's a mask. Because true confidence comes from knowing you can't know everything. I remember a man named Samir. Sharp suit, loud laugh, ran a department like a king. And for years, he did things the same way. Same tools, same routines, same assumptions. Even when it was obvious the world had moved on. One day, a younger teammate suggested using a modern workflow system to speed things up. Not to show off, not to embarrass him, just to help. Samir didn't even test it. He dismissed it with a smile that said, "You're cute for trying." And then he said the famous line of every close-minded person, "We've done it this way for years, and it's worked fine." But fine is a slow death. While other teams adapted, Samir's team fell behind. Deadlines slipped, talent left, results declined. And instead of questioning his own mindset, he blamed the staff, the market, the timing, anything except the wall inside his head. A closed mind doesn't just block knowledge, it damages everyone around it. The Stoics remind us that wisdom isn't about always being right. It's about being able to adapt and improve. To say, "Teach me." To be brave enough to admit, "I was wrong." Because only when the walls of stubbornness crumble can true wisdom take root. If you notice this tendency in yourself, or you want to know how to spot a foolish person early, start here. Watch how they react to new ideas. The wise test, the foolish reject. The second sign, constant blaming. Foolish people are masters of excuses. For them, nothing is ever their fault. A failed project? The system was unfair. A missed opportunity? Someone else was jealous. A broken relationship? The other person changed. Deep down, we all know blaming is a shield. It protects the ego from looking in the mirror. But that same shield becomes a prison. It holds them back from real growth. I once worked with a woman named Nadia. Brilliant energy, big voice, always busy. She led an event that was supposed to be massive. Months of planning, huge budget. When the event flopped, she immediately blamed marketing. They didn't push hard enough, she said. She went from person to person collecting allies for her story. But when we looked at the timeline, the truth was quiet and simple. Nadia had delayed core details, missed key approvals, and left the campaign scrambling. Even then, she kept pointing fingers. She couldn't accept her role, and eventually, she stepped down. Responsibility is heavy, yes, but it's the gateway to wisdom. Stoicism teaches that mastering life starts with mastering responsibility. If you catch yourself blaming, pause and ask, have I done everything I could? What could I have done differently? Blaming won't change the outcome. Taking responsibility will change you. That's one of the clearest signs of low wisdom. A person who protects their pride more than their progress.
The third sign, arrogance over humility. Have you ever met someone who's always trying to prove they're the smartest person in the room? They don't enter conversations to learn, they enter to win. That's the third sign of a foolish person. Arrogance isn't just a mask for insecurity, it's the biggest barrier to growth. Truly intelligent people listen more than they speak because they know learning is a lifelong process. I knew a manager named Eric. In every meeting, he dominated, interrupted, corrected people mid-sentence, laughed at ideas that weren't his. He needed to be seen as the expert. Then, a major project failed. Eric blamed the team for not understanding his vision. But the truth was obvious to everyone else. He had shut down feedback, ignored warning signs, and refused to listen. His arrogance derailed the work long before the deadline arrived. When his boss asked him to reflect, Eric couldn't find a single honest reason. Arrogance blinds a person to new perspectives. It convinces them they already know enough. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. It prioritizes collaboration over performance, learning over proving you're right. Stoic philosophy says wisdom only comes when we open ourselves to being corrected, when we're brave enough to say, I was wrong, and ready to learn from it. So, if you feel that itch to always be the one who knows, ask yourself, am I seeking recognition or seeking growth? Wisdom doesn't live in making others feel small. It lives in helping them feel empowered. The fourth sign is lack of empathy. A lack of empathy is one of the clearest indicators of ignorance. Not because empathy is softness, but because without it, you don't understand life. You don't understand people. And without understanding people, your intelligence is incomplete. There was a colleague of mine named Walter. Sharp mind, cold eyes. He complained about delays constantly, but never once asked why they happened. One day, a coworker, Hannah, missed a deadline because her daughter was in the hospital. Walter criticized her publicly in front of the whole team. No pause, no context, just judgment. A year later, Walter found himself caring for his sick father. Suddenly, work felt different. Pressure felt different. And he realized something painful. His thoughtless criticism had been a wound to others. Lack of empathy doesn't just make someone seem cold, it blinds them to opportunities for learning through relationships. It isolates them. It shrinks the soul. Stoicism teaches that wisdom doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from connecting with others in a meaningful way. Empathy is not weakness. It's the bridge to wisdom and humanity. If you feel yourself drifting into indifference, start small. Listen without judgment. Ask, what might they be carrying? Because an empathetic heart enriches your world and deepens your character. The fifth sign is the fear of change. The comfort zone feels cozy, but it's also a prison. Those who fear change cling to old habits, even when they've outlived their usefulness. They're like children afraid of the dark, hesitant to step outside what they know. But my friend, life is a river. It flows, bends, transforms. The wise learn to adapt and tread with it, while the foolish try to hold water in their hands and wonder why it slips away. I once met a man named Hassan. He lived in the same neighborhood his whole life. Same routines, same streets, same faces. When opportunities came, a new city, a better job, a fresh start, he refused. "Why leave what I know?" he said. "Everyone is here." But the neighborhood changed anyway. Old friends moved, shops closed, familiar places disappeared, and Hassan realized something the hard way. Even if you resist change, the world changes without your permission. Eventually, he moved closer to his children, and what he found wasn't loss, it was growth. New friendships, new energy, new possibilities he never imagined. The fear of change doesn't just keep us safe, it keeps us small. Stoic philosophy reminds us that change is inevitable, and only by embracing it can we live fully. So, if you're stuck in that comfort zone prison, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And what's the best that could happen? Wisdom is often on the other side of the door you keep avoiding. The sixth sign, talking more than listening. Have you ever seen someone who insists they know everything? They dominate every conversation, interrupt constantly, and rarely take the time to listen. This is a hallmark of foolishness, the person who talks more than they listen. They love the sound of their own voice so much that they forget there are other minds in the room. And this doesn't just create tension, it damages relationships. I remember a father named Jamil. Every evening at dinner, he monopolized the conversation. His kids tried to share things from school, but he cut them off to tell his own stories. His wife offered ideas for improving their finances, and he dismissed her without hearing the full thought. "My way works," was his motto. The tragic part is he didn't realize how unseen his family felt, how unheard, how small he was making them. His lack of listening created silent distance, a rift he couldn't name, but everyone could feel. Listening isn't passive, it's an active skill. It requires attention and respect. Stoicism teaches that listening is the pathway to learning. In silence, we find understanding. Talking without listening is like planting seeds in barren soil. Nothing will grow. So if you see yourself in that story, here's the practice. Next time your child speaks, your partner shares, your friend opens up, pause. Don't rush to reply. Don't wait for your turn. Truly listen. Because the wise person listens, the foolish one only talks. Now, we've walked through the 6 signs of a foolish person. But before you click away and start wondering, am I foolish? Hold on. The truth is, all of us have shown one or more of these signs at some point. Maybe we've been closed-minded, blamed others, acted arrogant, lacked empathy, clung to comfort zones, or talked too much without listening. Here's the key takeaway. Recognizing these signs isn't about criticism, it's about improvement. Stoic philosophy doesn't shame you for stumbling, it invites you to grow. Each foolish trait is actually a golden opportunity to become wiser. So if you felt a sting of recognition in any of these, don't run from it. Take it as an invitation. Step out of your comfort zone. Listen more. Blame less. Embrace change. Practice humility. Open your mind. Strengthen your character. This journey isn't for the perfect, it's for the brave. The ones who can look at themselves and say, I can do better. Remember, foolishness is temporary. Wisdom is a journey. And on that journey, you're not alone. Keep growing. And if you want more life lessons through Stoicism, more mindset sharpening, more mirrors that make us better, like, share, and subscribe. We'll keep walking this road together. Thank you for watching.